Welcome back to more Ace Attorney. The continuation of Mr. Shamspeare. Let's see, mic check. We're good, I think. 23rd of February, 9:23. You need to back up, sir. This is it then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. To the miserable curse that has been plaguing Mr. Natsume. To everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Mrs. Sato. Suffering Suzuki selfishly sidelined. Good morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Good morning, local student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Listen to you two chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here. Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, we didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly, you were meditating, finding inner calm. It seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting. What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow today. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid, somehow. You'll have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk of your path leading you to death, Mr. Natsume. That was just an example. Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you would abandon me and return to our beautiful unlost homeland. We've not even been to Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well, anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. Oh, what sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. Alright. It would seem Mr. Shams isn't coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept again. The great detective, my arch nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me. Defendant and your legal representative, the trial is about to begin. Make your way into the courtroom. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. And when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting to the very end. That's all. Shut up, neighbors. 23rd of February, 9:40. Oh, baby. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. So, by the way, I noticed that I've been calling him his name wrong. I keep calling him Baron, but it's actually like Barack or something. So, excuse me for the discourtesy. The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to proceed? Absolutely, justice will be done, you mark my words. I feel obliged to say I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. Hello, what you watch? Oh, well, I wonder if you could adjust my hat for me, and please be as ruthless as you like. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me, especially gas thieves. I've no sympathy for the man at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here, and lead his flock to a righteous verdict again today. Now, Lord Van Zeeks, what can you tell us? The prosecution's report, please, for the court. Oh, I've been meaning to watch Wednesday for a while. I'll try to get around to it soon. In relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea, so he does have the results. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the blackguard in the dock, say black one more time. Pray, allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there is indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression on the top of it. Yes, that's the tea! That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brains at the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it is tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all! In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. What a revelation! As I suspected. This makes it quite clear. The defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is blameless here. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found in the few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? My word, the water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counsel. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word from the lips of Mr. William Shamspeare, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shamspeare. Yes, it sounds like we're gonna have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. Bailiff, show Mr. Shamspeare to the stand. Just arrest this man already, please. Mr. William Shamspeare, the victim of this despicable crime. Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a bellyful of the foul fluid given in mine innocence. Yes, but as was revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as we had perhaps first been led to believe. By using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the supply company, yes. One may smile and be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a roomful of the sweet fuel given. That's right. Villagers, don't forget this man is a rotten thief. I haven't forgotten. Kept all that about the ice coins a tidy secret, didn't you? You should have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say. Arrest him at once, and let him feel the sting in my tail. Oh, indeed. By dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends, I confess. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, of that I am sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before their deaths, and for a coward such as I, death to be well deserved. But would it that a still greater crime passeth unpunished? For lo, the hairy-faced gentleman not farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me.
Objection!
But there is no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. What the defense would assert as an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shamsphere? Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well, let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. How the court weight is that poison apparently entered your body though none was found in the tea. The tea. The Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er did a drop of his own drink pass his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. Thus 'tis no surprise that poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the mounds of soap. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered, in my experience. Quite. Otherwise, it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance. But no poison bottle was found at the scene. Because, quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. Ugh, I knew that. By now, it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused's hands. Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamsphere, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Japanese man, dude. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But the Japanese say drink it while it's hot. So, and you know, there's no ring because he drank it while it's hot. So,
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question. But that's impossible. How, chop logic. What is this, ye dark-clad thing? The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof, goddamn. Incontrovertible? What difference? Look at the insides of the cups. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough. Indeed, such things occur all too readily when one leaves tea in a cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring. Good lord, you're right. It's completely clean. And prithee, sir, what makest thou of it? Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday, the Japanese saying he quoted. Drink tea while it's hot. That's right, yes. The jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time. If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well after the several hours of the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shamspear, you clearly lied to the court. Get thee to a nunnery!
Objection!
As a rule, I fill my hallowed chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. Yet on occasion, tedium distracts me and I pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shamspear. Yes, my liege. Though you previously stated that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused cup, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken? Could it be that? Yes. Perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene. In fact, that had vanished from your memory until now. Faith, my liege, thou art a magician. For verily, 'tis as though thou hast seen with thine own eyes that night. What? Forsooth, I was mistook. I did plan to use tea from the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked, 'twas empty. And thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as my liege did suggest.
Objection!
And you just suddenly remembered now that you've made a mistake before? Are we supposed to believe that?
Objection!
People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us 2 things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only. And secondly, that the spoiled cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that had bewitched this court. The prosecution makes a fine summary of the facts. Furthermore, that testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words, the inconsistency claimed by the defense simply does not exist. No! What does this mean then? I do declare it means there's no issue with the gas thief's testimony. Apart from the bit about thieving gas, obviously. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear. After I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips but the black tea given me by the Japanese, whose back be stooped as low as death. And on what did you dine, sir? Why, I did partake of my favourites, a broth as would be called soup, and a leaf as would be called salad. Soup, salad. Not soap, but he did eat soap, probably. As insalubrious a menu as the establishment where it was served. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. Willingly would I suffer what punishment seem fit to serve a wicked thief of gas, but I pray ye, wise and noble fellows, ne'er forget the simple truth. That be one thing, and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shamspear doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins. My lord! If I may speak, my lord, Yes, Mr. Foreman? I believe we may have been duped by that rotten defense lawyer. By me? I do declare you may be right. We all know the waif there is making coins of ice to keep himself warm. But this lawyer lad says he's stealing gas. He deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us up the garden path, and that's what he's been doing. I really never said anything like that. But what we just heard from the victim there has opened our eyes again. We've reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it. The court acknowledges the position of the jury foreman. Who? And will duly hear the jury's findings. What? No! You can't yet. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your decisions now.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
I don't know who that is. But, good luck to them. Hopefully the stream, whatever, goes well. I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord. Oh, happy day! How's this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination. Very well. The court upholds the defense's right. Typical. My learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth. This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination immediately. Jurors, the court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime of which he is charged. I'm a man of logic, me, and having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty. I do agree that gas is far too expensive, but I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid pain. The stuff explodes and it can poison you. It's absolutely lethal, gas is. Gas doesn't come for free, it costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes. Truth be told, the tea my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? Okay, well, already I'm suspicious of number 5. I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supplies has influenced the decision somewhat. But never mind. No, you really should mind. The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unassailable as we hoped. And Mr. Shakespeare was poisoned. There could be no doubt of that. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shakespeare was actually poisoned. Our only hope is to demonstrate that to the court incontrovertibly. But that's surely almost impossible at this stage. If we don't manage it, though, Mr. Natsume will be found guilty. No delays, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Let's go, little mouse boy. To the truth. I guess I might as well press him. May we please talk about the poison rather than the gas, do you think, sir? Well, if you like. I mean, to be honest, I take poison over gas every time. You take poison? What I mean is, poison can only poison you. It doesn't explode, does it? Goodness me, what are you talking about? Set him straight, please, lawyer man. Well, it's certainly true that poison isn't prone to exploding. But I think you'll find poison also can't light or heat up a room. Ah! You're right. I hadn't considered that at all. fine lawyer man. Yes? You have a good head on your shoulders. We could use someone like you as our company's legal representative. Well, I wasn't expecting to pick up more business in the middle of a trial, that's for sure. Anyway, the point is, I haven't had the best experience with gas companies in the past. Alright, what's up, number 5? You mean it's poisoned? That's right. It happened a tidy few times now. This is most troubling indeed. It's always days like this one where I don't get any wages. I get in at tea time, see? And I see her doing it, my wife. She gets that devilish look on her face, and she slips some white powder into my cup. And you drink it anyway? I was brought up proper, I was. If someone gives you a cuppa, you drink it. And what happened to you? What did it taste like? It was god-awful, believe you me. Salty as hell. Then I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt. No! So, she doesn't even care enough to poison me properly, eh? Unbelievable. Let's move on, please. Let's see.
Hold it!
All the evidence, you say? That's right, and there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at the Japanese man with the big mustache. Says the Englishman with the bigger mustache. Which means we need to show the man some new evidence to make him change his mind. If only we had that kind of evidence. Don't worry, this summation examination has barely started, really. Perhaps there'll be a shift in this situation that shows an existing piece of evidence in a new light. Let's hope so. To start with, though, I need to find some way out of this deadlock. Guess I'll press everyone then.
Hold it!
This isn't the time or place to be discussing the price of gas, madam. But really, think of the injustice. Air is a gas and air is free. Why should Altamont gas cost money? It makes my blood boil. I can feel myself becoming more ruthless than ever. This isn't the time or the place to be ruthless either. If I might interject here. Yes, madam? It seems my fellow juror takes issue with the price our company charges for gas. But it's precisely because of thieves like this man that the cost goes up. Oh, what a beastly man. That unkempt mustache, those hunched shoulders, poisoning tea and stealing gas. Utterly forgivable. Unforgivable. No, Mr. Natsume isn't the one who's been stealing gas. I'll thank you not to go adding on more crimes. Mr. Natsume hasn't been poisoning tea either. Well, anyway, I've quite made up my mind. It's as made up as the price of gas.
Hold it!
Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas? There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you hadn't noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so. She's really buzzing now. All I've heard about our wonderful fuel is explosions and poisonings. What about electricity, What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there is nothing in comparison. Any explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of the gas is deplorable. My point exactly, but the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis, you know. More devious? Who, madam? Other gas companies, of course. Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting. We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed. Nobody is questioning that, madam. Altamont is an exemplary gas company. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all. What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people? You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that. They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible? I guess gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's home via a network of pipes. But these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes, and take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours without us even knowing. They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. What a brazen form of theft. When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies has been up to its tricks.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh golly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry, I was just thinking to myself. I really did catch him off guard there. Thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yes. I just got a little riled up about it recently, you see. Go on. An ultimate gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipe work. We need to ask for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in, and do you know what he did? I'm, afraid I have no idea. Please tell us. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets there. Oh, please, everybody knows. But it was very near the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean? I'll explain, if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network. Yes, but how does blowing into the pipes come into it? Obviously, there's gas in the pipes, and it's at a fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment. I see. In other words, if upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flicker, and you can know that these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipes. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate which lights flicker. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might, and you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right, the lights didn't just flicker, they went out, along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house. What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all? I said. So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it's possible to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And then, when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, this is almost certainly the clue that we've been hoping for. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like. I don't mind. Well, I do. That's our company's secret method of identifying the rogues that try to diddle us. Like I said, madam, it's widely known already. Very well, juror number 3, you will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord. Although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Blow too hard into a gas pipe and you extinguish everything in the house, and then you're in real trouble.
Hold it!
When you say extinguish everything in the house, do you mean even on different floors? Oh yes, all floors are connected to the same pipe after all. That's true of every building. Because gas supply contracts are issued for whole properties. Well, I had no idea that it was possible to extinguish gas appliances simply by blowing down the pipe. It's not something we like to publicize, to be honest, but we have to carry out these investigations, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Indeed. It has been mentioned on more than one occasion in the papers, even. Is that so? It's been mentioned to me, too, very recently. An incident involving the gas stove going out inexplicably, almost leading to someone's death. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, it's finally starting to fall into place. The secret link that joins all these strange occurrences. I guess I'll hear what you have to say.
Hold it!
Does that mean that if the victim could be shown to have ingested something else, you change your leaning? Huh, sorry. What's that now? Oh, I was just saying if the victim did actually eat or drink something else on the night. What's the matter with you? Sorry? I said if nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? Haven't you been listening to me at all? I feel there's an English expression about a pot and a kettle that's appropriate here. Compared to the other jurors who don't even appear to have anything to say about the case at all, it would seem that this elderly gentleman has been listening to the proceedings far more intently. I suppose the trouble is, he has selective hearing? Exactly, but still, this juror may well be the key to the breakthrough that we're so desperately need. This is hopeless. There's no way for me to appeal to these people. I do think that the only way we shall overcome this difficult situation is by exposing the way in which Mr. Shamsphere was really poisoned. We have to prove that it happened some other way and not via Mr. Natsume's tea. I getcha. Yes, I know. The trouble is, I have absolutely no idea how it did happen. Oh, I know, Rinosuke. Mr. Naruhodo, I wonder if perhaps there's something you might have forgotten. Oh, like what? It's important to watch everyone involved and pursue people if they react to something someone else says. Yeah, I did that. If you'd like me to remind you exactly what I mean, I'd be more than happy to, of course. Once again, Soseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands here. I probably owe it to my client to hear any advice my assistant may be able to offer, so perhaps I ought to let Susato-san remind me. Then again, no. Actually, I don't think there's any need. It's vital that we start trying to change these jurors' minds as soon as possible. Of course, I'm sure you're right. But if you decide you would like your memory refreshed, you need only ask, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay, let's see. Blow too hard. Okay. Blow too hard with the poison. And number 6.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 6. Did you hear what juror number 3 just said? What? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's tea did, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question. What? What explanation? I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light on the scene, to see if there were any traces of poison there? I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of a gas pipe. Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work! Is a man... What are you trying to say, Mr. Shamsphere? What speakest thou? Prithee, is it not strange and strange? That is what I said to thee, sir. I thought I'd been quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strychnine that could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds a wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came to enter your body. Good lord. Are they tasty then, gas pipes? Is that what he's saying? Or is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him. For shame, madam, speaking thy fancy. I assure you I'm not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips to the pipe that feeds it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There is no possible proof that the man did as you say. Oh, but I do have proof.
Objection!
It's true, I have no proof, yes you do, that Mr. Shakespeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shakespeare has been doing something in front of that lamp on his wall. Smack. And I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure of yourself. So would I. Let's see this evidence, then. Now that I've got the jury's ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that, time and time again, Mr. Shakespeare stood in front of his gas lamp. Handprints on the wall.
Take that!
What the? These are... wait, what are they called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, counsel? I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however. My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. It revealed all the places that Mr. Shakespeare touched in his room. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it? Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree, this month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect, on the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shakespeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. Around the hanging picture there, indeed, multiple handprints appear to be visible. Well, I wonder, could he have been appreciating the artwork, perhaps? At first, my colleagues and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... I don't believe it. The gas lamp. Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shakespeare has regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Right. What have you been up to, you nut? I'd asked the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement. Me? What did I say? You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the lights in the entire building flicker. And now, if you recall juror number 3's statement... Well, me now. When the gas worker who visited his home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shakespeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Crikey. Are you suggesting that the man purposely caused the gas to...
Objection!
Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during the summation examination, I must toast my learned friend's utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zeeks? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints, clearly that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case.
But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective.
It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands. Ugh. Certainly, even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence.
But
Hold it!
please, my lord, if I may.
Mrs. Otto,
It was not the defense's intention to submit the screen prints as formal evidence. We merely wished to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And, if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree.
you're right. Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3?
Oh yes, I do declare the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I want to hear what that shady actor fellow has to say about those shady handprints.
What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy. Well, I did say it, didn't I? And I don't like to break a promise. No, wait! You heard his lordship. It's not fair, Dinkum.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. If just one more juror changes his or her mind, Mr. Natsume's trial will have to continue.
Thank you, Mrs. Otto, but I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. This is very much your success.
He's dying. Why, Mr. Shamspear, you seem to be losing your composure.
Just one more juror, Mr. Naruhodo. You can do it.
Very well. Continue, counsel.
Alright. I'm very interested in the results. Gas doesn't come for free. I don't believe in breaking promises. Man of logic. Maybe 1 and 3? Can't come to a decision. Maybe 1 and 6. Man of logic, turn all the evidence. Oh, I can't select. Okay, never mind. Oops. Whoops, again. Get home. I guess I press him. All the evidence, you say?
That's right.
and there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at the Japanese man. It's the Englishman. But the defense just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events on the night in question. What do you make of that? What your so-called skin prints? It's an exciting new forensic investigation technique developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Mr. Shamspeare had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question, it can't be denied that there's a possibility that's where the poison was. Well, yes, I won't deny that it's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. And besides, yes, even if the fellow had been up to some mischief with the gas pipe dozens of times before, that doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? Oh, if you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance. You do make a very valid point, sir. What? That's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty. No, wait. Look, you've got your chance here, haven't you? So it's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is. Just leave our nationality out of this, please. Mr. Naruhodo, if we can't substantiate our position, I'm afraid the jurors that changed their minds before may very well change them back. What can I do? Is there any more proof I can give here? Can I show that Mr. Shamspeare really did blow down the gas pipe on the night in question? I have a supporting testimony, I believe. I don't have evidence, but I think Mr. Natsume talked about it. No, in truth, I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there's witness testimony that substantiates it. What's that? Testimony? This is incredible. Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas in the garret of a resident that night, namely him, correct?
Take that!
Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume himself. The defendant? At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. Even on that fateful night it happened, when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me. On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence, or not? Good golly. So that Shamspeare fellow blew air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose. Now hold your horses there, why would he do that for? Mr. Foreman. What is it, man? We cannot allow judgment to be passed while this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet. However, you must surely agree there is more to this case than meets the eye. Ugh. Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I'm a man of logic, first and foremost. That's 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord. We overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. As the defense has rightfully indicated, the summation examination has concluded with a majority of jurors altering their decisions. The 2 jury members now call guilty, 4 now call not guilty. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted, and in accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order the continuation of this trial. Mr. William Shamspeare. My lord, how can thy humble Shamspeare severe thee? What say you in response to the various revelations made during the summation examination?
So God mend me, I do solemnly swear, I recall aught of either the lamp or the pipe.
But your handprints have made a tiny mess all over the wall there. How'd you explain that, eh?
I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. Oh, me?
As I went to some pains to point out already, a print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in a British court of law. Ugh. As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall, remains at this time an established conjecture. You would all do well to remember that.
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe being the lamp in Mr. Shakespeare's room to be examined. If there are traces of poison there,
Objection!
what appears to be extremely simple is my Nipponese friend's mine. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of tea were required. Yes. Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that even if poison were to have been spread on the pipe, it would have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. Ugh, I didn't think of that. In any case, counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air into the gas pipework where he lived? There's only one possibility that I can think of, and that is to use the leaking gas to commit murder.
Order, counsel. Precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end?
The answer couldn't be simpler. Now we've unraveled the mystery this far. Mr. Shakespeare wanted to end the life of...
Take that!
If a gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, could be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around these parts myself, so I know what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without the stove lit is pretty much suicide. You freeze to death in no time. Mr. Garrett, the landlord, has a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Mr. Shakespeare was trying to end.
Outrageous.
I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder.
Good gracious.
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting.
However, the fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely,
That the accused is the aggressor here.
what? How can you still claim that?
Let us indulge your fancies for a moment and assume that there is indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question that then arises is who put it there?
Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill.
Yes, that would indeed seem logical.
If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have known to lace the end of the gas pipe with poison? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shakespeare's murderous designs? You mean to suggest...
Naturally, the sole possible answer to that question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known.
What?
In other words, the person who put the poison on the gas pipe in what was a clear retaliatory attack can only have been the accused, Mr. Saseki Natsume. Whatever Mr. William Shakespeare may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack.
And the only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to avert suspicion of the accused. Far from it. In fact, now that a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, my Nipponese friend? Ugh. How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruhodo, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change their leanings against us again. And this may be our last chance to gain the advantage. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody put poison on the gas pipe in Mr. Shamspeare's room. So I must name that person now and absolve Mr. Natsume of guilt. You mean name the true culprit? I know it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison, it's all pointing to a particular person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman. What? Oh, don't you worry, we know exactly what—
Objection!
There's one other person who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The true culprit of this crime. The true culprit. A term found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already, I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, my learned Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who's the so-called true culprit of this crime? Him?
Take that!
You claim this person is the true culprit. Highly suspicious, I would say, yes. Perhaps, my learned Nipponese friend, you should turn those wide eyes of suspicion on yourself. What? Okay. Mr. Naruhodo, please, you must concentrate. You must concentrate harder. Okay, who's the so-called true culprit? I'd say him then, right?
Take that!
Do they really want me to say Natsume? Let's see. Wait.
Take that!
The name of the person responsible for the poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare is, I believe, Miss Olive Green. Okay, so that's the answer, but let me think of why it's the answer. So, you know how she was trying to kill herself with poison, right? So So maybe she knows that her, boyfriend or whatever, he died of poison, and she knows that the poison is on the pipe. So, she knows, I don't know, Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green. I do feel as though I've heard that name in the recent past, Counsel, but I don't recall where. Miss Olive Green, the woman found 6 days ago, from the victim in the recent case of stabbing on Briar Road, an incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add. Oh, of course, yes, Miss Green. She was left comatose for some 3 days, I believe, but I hear she regained consciousness 2 days ago. And I hardly need remind the court that Mr. Shamsphere poisoning took place 3 days ago. Given that the woman was lying comatose in a hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a rather fine alibi. True, on the night the incident occurred, Miss Green was in hospital, unconscious. So on the face of it, it would seem that she couldn't possibly be responsible, but still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in hospital yesterday, and we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison. Good gracious, she had poison. And there's another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court. Tell me, Mr. Shamsphere. My lord, pray, what be thy bidding? Are you acquainted with Miss Green? No, never heard of her. Judging by the look on Mr. Shamsphere's face, I think perhaps he generally doesn't know her. At least, not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here, I adhere to my word. We will see my learn Japanese friends farce through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here. Yes, Miss Olive Green. Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well, I grant the request. Excellent, I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say, but at the present time I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject of this court's attention. Thank you, counsels. We reconvene in an hour. Court is adjourned. I'm sorry. So, we saw she was interacting with Shamsphere, right? So, they do kind of know each other. I don't know. 23rd of February, 11:32. Joyful jumping jacks! Oh, Mr. Natsume. I'm so pleased for you. Locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire and non-locum student Judicial Assistant Miss Mikitoba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent, and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, Herlock Jones. May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent. I thought that tea was innocent. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came! How wonderful! Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought, tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions.
Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not?
Oh, yes.
And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter?
Oh, yes.
Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink at night. All night, and the results. By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential.
Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already.
What others presuppose, I prove by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is a scientific method. Ah, yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this?
Ah!
Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to. It was a laborious task, as the bottle was near empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder shows. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine, so I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Could I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come! Forget it. Excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. From the look on your face, I'd say it's someone else you think is making a nuisance of himself. My dear Inspector, please speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me.
Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation in Mr. Shamspeare's room?
Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. The dead convict, actually.
Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspeare's room? A man by the name of... yes, Selden.
I went through the archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that, well, it caught my eye.
Something caught your eye? What, Inspector, what?
I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Thank you.
These documents. 1 second, I'm gonna read it. 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder, died natural causes, cellmate, estimated £1,000 worth of gold, Manchester Strange during prison, its death, stolen by natural causes, been suffering with fever since October, murdered by the Jones, and school cellmate,
So this is the poison we've been hearing so much about. Strychnine. If there are a few remnants on the bottom of the bottle, here, look.
You mustn't be tempted to try it.
Of course not, as long as we don't lose this trial.
No! Even if we lose the trial! No! We mustn't lose a trial in the first place, Mr. Naruhodo!
Make your mind up, Make your mind up, Cesaro-san. She's like, do we die? Do we not die? So I can't really look inside. Okay, I guess that's that.
These documents include details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information. Thanks. Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though?
Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion.
Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful.
Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown. A shining diamond in the rough, maybe? Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way to the courtroom.
Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all. Certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Moustache in floods of tears personally, so the best of luck to you. Welcome, student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
Yes, Mr. Natsume?
It's time, isn't it?
Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shakespeare. This is gonna be the final battle. I won't really have saved Sasaki-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now.
You can do it, Renosuke. You have to.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense, namely that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing, in my opinion, my lord. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zieks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand?
Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please. William Shakespeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words.
I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. I'm not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose.
Also currently unemployed, in other words. What a coterie. Mr. Shakespeare.
My lord, I am thy humble servant.
I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you.
I would for naught else, my lord.
And Miss Green?
Yes?
You are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes, the officer did explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous baboon.
And do you accept the charge, Miss Green?
I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man.
Come, lady, die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly pea-pigmented personage. Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by the neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital fighting for my life. Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garib household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days. I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion. What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings is the Bar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened.
Oh no! Incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful accident?
Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare. Eh? But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned. Let us proceed then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road the evening of the 17th of February.
It was 6 days ago at about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case had their lodgings. I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakst, for I had bespoke my dinner. My supper, whatever. It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business.
Yes, the second incident inside a week at which I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspeare. 'Twas the following morn, when I did awaken, that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine! When Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, as suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here, I feel certain of it, and this is my one and only chance to expose it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord.
Days ago.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one?
'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End.
And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zieks?
The Slug and Salad offers unusual fine dining, for the locality at least.
Not an establishment you expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room.
It's true, the menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness.
I would have expected Grubb's Grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that?
How different can water really be? Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. a specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. Agreed. The fact that on the day of all days he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamster's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. I don't think so. I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment. If we find the clue that could explain why Mr. Shamster went there, we must present it to the court. Yes, absolutely. That is all. In this matter, Counselor will ask Miss Green to rewrite her next statement. First time I've been in the area,
Hold it!
What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate.
There was nothing really. It's not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital.
Ah,
It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green. What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, "I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross."
what does that matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan.
Excuse me!
Mr. Shamspear, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's words springeth from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps. Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging to be a lonely occupation, sire, my lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours. Miss Green.
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
The card that was mentioned before, containing the note, do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please. Of course, that's what links Mr. Shamspear and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? This Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah, what is it? The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact same shape somewhere else.
Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up.
Boop. They go together perfectly. This torn off end of the envelope clearly belongs to this card.
Okay, I think that's the evidence I need, probably. So let me go do this again.
Hold it!
Just 1 second. Happen down in the place it went normally. Torn off piece. And Mr. Shakespeare. That's perfectly. Whoops. I guess the torn piece, maybe. Get 1 second. I'm gonna try the torn piece, I guess. Mr. Shakespeare? Yes, sire. On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize? For a very particular reason. I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speak. Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day, namely... maybe just the card? The card?
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shakespeare, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shakespeare? Well... Excuse me, can I say something? Yes, Miss Green? That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you'd think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? May you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well then, you may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It's nothing to do with the odd man next to me here.
Hold it!
I think you said that you received it the day before the incident, didn't you? Yes, that's right. There appears to be no indication of the sender's name or address on the envelope. It was in my letterbox, that's all I know, I'm afraid. I have no idea who sent it. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. But who is this Duncan Ross, please? A friend of mine. He attended the same art school as I do. He passed away in a tragic accident a month ago now, though. I wasn't sure what to make of that note, to be honest. In the end, I decided to go. So you found out what the information was? Of course I didn't. You're not thinking straight. Whilst on her way there, she was stabbed in the back. As my learned friend hopefully remembers. Yes, of course. She never made it to the meeting. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, you pursued Mr. Shakespeare wonderfully there. It's worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. Alright, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere. Well, as you've managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that? Yes, of course. And yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. I guess I might as well press the other statements. I'm all acquainted with the case. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long, and I woke up to find that the case had been solved and the culprit arrested. Yes, the incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten. Yes, I suppose so. Thank you. But before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day, for us to arrive at the truth about this new case. The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement. Incidentally...
Hold it!
What were you doing there that day, though? What do you mean? The art school you attend, what's it called? Yes, it's the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. According to Mr. Sholmes, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene on the underground. I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End? Well, it's because, oh yes, of course, I thought it might make a nice picture. The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas. That's alright. I happen to like the crumbling look of that part of town. Perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term. The point is, she's definitely hiding something. Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth. If she's trying to hide why she was there that evening, it must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. And you, Mr. Shamspeare, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago, would you tell the court what exactly you were doing? It would be my pleasure, sire. Objection! This torn piece...
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address, and upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that's happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn-off end of an envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. Where'd you find that? In Mr. Shamspeare's room. In my room? Mr. Shamspeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well, your actions that afternoon, following the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so, that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green. What did I do? As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shamspeare's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all. There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspeare's room and stole it. You did... Sorry, thou hast what? Thou was in my room? What on earth do you want with me? He's losing it. It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green? Yes. Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, Anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Very well then, witnesses, you will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. I do remember now, 'twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece of envelope, I don't know anything about it. You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspeare? Faith, 'tis so, my lord, and I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet 'tis clear to me now that since I returned to the tavern that night, I had not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was... A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address, besides. We all know who the liar around here is. If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. I don't see why I should explain. Sorry. I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs, you, fledgling lawyer. The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel, I'm ready, my lord. Very well, Ben. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspeare's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one. Do you remember now? Okay, why?
Hold it!
And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all? Nay, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, 'tis impenetrable. But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you? Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him and knew him not, then 'tis with foreboding that I be forced to declare we were by some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Marry, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by mine own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end my curiosity was not satiated. On the day
Hold it!
So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared. Well, yes, sire. 'Tis as thou say'st. Really? You paused for a moment before you answered. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all? I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions. What do you mean?
Flies, sire, flies! Good lord. In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a Midsummer Night's Dream, come to taunt me. I think they were just flies.
I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me?
Hold it!
When exactly did he notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. In other words, you don't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room. Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval. Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. And yet, during that time, Miss Green was comatose in hospital, was she not? Clearly, then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shakespeare's room.
Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding, isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir?
You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the note. I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You would do well to remember that.
Oh, dearie me.
What's Lord Van Zeke's getting at?
I don't know what you mean.
Hold it!
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shakespeare about 1 week ago.
Oh, does it?
But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shakespeare's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witnesses have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless.
Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shakespeare's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing.
What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though?
Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruhodo.
We're close now. I can feel it. We're so close to a breakthrough. I guess I'll press her about this. So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it?
I'm a fledgling artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters.
Introverted? Fie! This fledgling doth readily cast aspersions about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song, the wind doth frolic on my wing. Oh pity, wherefore dost thou accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman?
Pure of heart? I don't think so. You're a fledgling like me, so you're just a failure.
Tragedy! Thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist until thine instruction hereafter by death. Oh the days, oh the years, alas to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain.
Mr. Naruhodo, interject with some clever remark. This is your chance to shine.
I'm no Shakespearean actor, Mrs. Otto. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument is evidence.
It's evidence, yes. It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into the room.
That's where she found this letter. Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions. Let me know one terrifying conclusion. Terrifying? Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely.
Okay, why would I break into this room?
So
Selden. Right, he was in the building, right? Yeah, I think they said he lived there, so...
Objection!
Ah, man. Okay, well... Why would she? The poison, maybe? I guess.
Objection!
Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents spilt during the course of our meetings, a small quantity remained. Ah! According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Shelm's chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine.
What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear. Ah.
Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspear's room with poison. He looks so mad.
Can this be? You broke into my room to...
It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspear's life by poison was you, Miss Olive Green. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie.
Order, order. Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill?
Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts.
But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely.
Well, that's a very good point.
Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time.
Lord Van Zeeks. And of course, the following morning there was more activity at Mr. Shamspear's address.
More activity?
Yes.
You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder?
That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspear was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant.
But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspear had no reasonable errand to the gas pipe. His intended victim, being in a prison cell, let the need to tamper with the gas removed, poison on the pipe lay dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again.
Right. Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspear was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion,
The poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days ago, some 4 days earlier. Mary! With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipients should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home. Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order. What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life? Duncan?
Take that!
Duncan Ross. That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Garrett's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... of course, yes. I remember now. The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ugh. Well, you know, the world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story they want to know, it doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean you... Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Raper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. but I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green. I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason? I thought I'd have a look around, that's all.
Sorry.
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life.
Oh, vileness! Oh, villainy! Oh, tyranny! Oh, round-tuntity! Oh, woman! But in any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in my lock.
That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some chips and a piece of wire.
Oh, awfulness! Oh, artfulness! Oh, tyranny! Oh, profanity of woman! We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I sorted the note that I'd sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place.
Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
What are you doing with that?
What the? Every ounce of color has drained from his face.
Give it here. Give it to me now. It's mine. I inherited it. What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it.
No,
What's all this about? He inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you since you've gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So, what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute! Give it to me! Calm yourself, witness. So, Mr. Shakespeare has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shakespeare at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there's actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shakespeare's alleged crimes? Is it this to put the money? Yes?
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. The room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The of some 1,000 pounds worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Sullivan entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. The location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
You mean this key is...
Mr. Shamspeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? It's a false charge, I tell you, a false charge. The name of the inmate who was sullied at his death isn't noted in his file, but a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Sullivan's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrideb's lodgings in the hope of renting Sullivan's own room. However, the entire army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because Sullivan's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspeare? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspeare. It's mine. What did you just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Oh God. Mr. Shamspeare. It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? Or if I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot.
I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo.
There is a way.
Pardon?
There's one way I can finish him.
No!
He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. My lord? Yes, counsel. The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already. It definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hole?
I wanna say this again.
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord, exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective Mr. Sholmes.
A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeare. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. Ah, 'tis Sherlock Sholmes himself. What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. Mr. Sholmes? He does know Lord Van Zeeks then. Well, enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already.
Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Ugh. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make it indicate a solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Saseki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Sullivan's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form would the sample take?
I wanna say her. Because I don't think I have any evidence he really touched. It has to be a person. We would need something of Sullivan's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we attain a possession of the late convict Sullivan to create the indicator solution? Yes?
Take that!
Miss Green? Me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? The key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspeare is one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth. In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No! Give the key to me. The detective shan't have it.
It's over, Mr. Shamspeare.
No, no.
You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt.
Whoa. Oh, shameful spear! Despair! By thy name! Yee. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods. Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume. What unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally had my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shakespeare, how does it go? To be or not to be, that is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be, that is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. It's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember? But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped, Eastern-looking man with a moustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to grab scrubbery for some food, so I followed him, and sat myself down next to him. He had some worry-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican.
That place is cursed, I tell you, cursed. The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas, and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
A rumor? You mean...
Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
A black market?
I'd never been, I just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you would think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamspeare was innocent, nothing would come of what you've done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeare, and then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Raw Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It's a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done that, I knew that would worry him enough so he'd be sure to go. So I wanted to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspeare followed the instructions to the letter.
I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of the poison I bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts.
That was deserts, but 3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green.
Yes, my lord.
You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare.
Yes, I know.
And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes?
Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from
ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh,
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green.
Mr. Soseki Natsume? Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant
Not guilty.
Court is adjourned. $3.24. Oh yes, yes, at last. Divine justice duly done. Divine justice. My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave the mustache. No, this has nothing to do with my mustache.
Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes.
Welcome to Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Once again. You've saved me from doom. I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in a great empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
But a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said. I kind to feel the same way. I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What?
Just when we'd become friends here in England. What a terrible shame.
Oh, I know. That does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. A novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful.
Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature. Why not? Well, that is precisely the definition, Mr. Moustache. I suppose you're right, yes, it will in a way be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from my battle with the Reaper. That's very true.
And there's no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor.
The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand.
My goodness, yes. Faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it. And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. Sasaki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Susato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of the telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. February 1013.
Oh, well done, Mr. Jones. How simply marvelous of you. To uncover the secret hiding place in just one day.
Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson?
He's been happily munching an agreement this whole time, you know, Harley. Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hole. What is that? Ew.
It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar.
A collar? It's huge though.
And look at all the gemstones sitting in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? There's some dark stains. You don't think...
they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Then, of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown.
What does it signify, do you think?
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen the emblem somewhere before, you know. Where could it have been?
That's enough of that, I think. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color has drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, aren't you? It could be valuable evidence after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot, and head over now. I never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, could they really have been blood?
Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now.
And you look very pleased, Iris.
I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as a basis for this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating.
You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I presume.
The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the moustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps. I can make it a two-part story.
Oh, I can't wait. A word please, Iris?
Yes, what is it, Harley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again. With an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Yay! Alright, that's that. And next time, Return of the Great Departed Soul. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Next time we'll see whatever this departed soul is. So I hope you guys are enjoying the series, and catch you on the next one. Bye!